Todd,
Whenever you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay.
Okay, let me do this cancel all. So many things are popping up here. My goodness. Okay. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Can you see it? Okay.
Yes, it's in full screen.
All right. Good morning. My name is Nargurung, and I have been in Tuskegee for about 15 years. I'm a nutritionist by training, and I also oversee the goat unit here. So if you have interest working with goats at the goat farm, you can come to me. I also had a lot of students from the Federal Work Study Program. Some of the better ones also get this college work study. College work study is very competitive. But federal work study, I just talk to students and I always have said yes. I have never rejected. So I'm just sharing this information. If you want to work at the GOAT units, please contact me. Isn't that good? Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Yes.
If you have any question anytime while I am talking, you can stop me and Dr. Dokes will just intervene and I will try to explain. This is my contact address. You can call me anytime. I have no office hours. There is an office hour, but I entertain students phone calls anytime, including weekends. I don't care. I'm here for students, okay? Or you can email me, identify yourself, who you are, what classification means, either freshman, junior, senior, sophomore, and just ask me. But again, I'm going to let you know that federal work study, not everyone qualifies. Those who qualify, I will send my recommendation. Please contact me. Now the semester is ending. I'm talking about fall, okay? I am going to talk nutrition today. I think some of the slides, I think Dr. Frank Abramson did talk to you. Folks, he did a PhD and master's with me. So some of the slides may be similar. But if they're similar, that will help because this will reinforce, okay, reinforce that idea, okay? So what is nutrition? I'm not talking about the animal nutrition, I'm talking about general nutrition, including human nutrition. Nutrition involves a series of chemical, biochemical, and physiological reactions in the body, which change food elements, nutrients, into body tissues, like muscles, like bone, like milk, or like wool, or even for running or just walking, you know, everything that animals do, including all the tissues growth, milk production, wool growth, hair growth, or running around, that includes, that needs nutrients. And there is a series of processes that takes place inside the body that provide nutrients to animals. In general, these are the 6 nutrients we talk about in nutrition, whether they are human nutrition or animal nutrition. We talk about water. We talk about carbohydrates. We talk about fats or lipids. We talk about proteins. We talk about minerals, and we talk about vitamins. So 6 pillars of nutrition, okay, or 6 nutrients. Remember that, please. This is very important. No matter how much you know about nutrition, your knowledge revolves around the 6 pillars of nutrition, okay? Okay, why is nutrition so important? Why do we need to learn more? Question comes from time to time. This is because almost 842 million people suffer from chronic hunger. They don't have enough to eat. This is the present situation. By 2050, it is projected that human population will be 10 billion. It's a lot of people. The food production, the level of production we have at the current time has to be increased by at least 60%. A lot more for nutrition. Nutritional folks who are working in this area, there's a lot of opportunities. Because we need more food, more safe food, more quality food. So nutrition is very important, okay? So first pillar of nutrition is water. Often the time we don't talk about water in this country, in the US or in Western world, we don't talk about water because water is freely available for animals, for humans. However, if you travel around the world, water is the #1 problem. Not only the quality of the problem, quantity is also a problem. Many parts of the world, they don't have enough water to drink, and they do not have quality water to drink. So you guys are very lucky to be born here in this country where you don't often question about quality of water. Yeah, there are instances, sometimes qualities, there is some polluted water, but often the time you don't question water. Even for animals, we provide free choice water, like goats at the goat barn, they get water anytime they want to drink. We give them free choice. That's why people don't talk much about water, okay? But water is the #1 nutrient we need. Very important. Look at the body weight. Animal body, or for that matter, human body, 65 to 85% of body weight is water, depending on what stage of growth you are. At birth, it is high. Very high percentage of body is water. At birth, when animals or humans mature, the body weight has less percentage of water. For instance, compared to you guys and myself, you have more water in your body compared to mine, okay? That is true with animals. When they're young, they have more percentage of water in the body. Another area where you can find water is fat cells. Adipocytes are called fat cells. They also contain water, 5 to 10% in the body. And I will explain what that means later. So if you do not provide good quality water, it can create problems in production. Animals will not grow fast. They do not produce enough meat, enough milk, enough eggs, enough wool, enough hair. So a lot of problems related to production. So what we say in terms of water, animals, no matter what species of animal you're talking about, must be provided good quality water, free choice, as much as they want to drink, okay? That is the nutrition, water nutrition we talk about. Sometimes when we think that water is bringing some pollutants, we test water, but most of the time we just take it for granted that water is clean, okay? And the blood is all but water. Looks almost 90 to 95% of blood is water. And this is these are the two paragraphs or PowerPoints I have decreases with animal age. Percentage, like I told you, young folks have more water in their body compared to the older ones. That is also same thing with animals. Also important to know that when animals become fatter, they have more body fat, they have less water. What that means is water is replaced by fat. Okay? These are the things I have asked in the test, not this class, but in my other classes. Okay. So percentage of body water. There was a hand raised. Dr. Dokes, what is this hand raised about? Hello.
I would say they just come off mute to answer your question. Ask your question. Sorry.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead. Ask me.
Could you clarify a little bit on how the percentage of body water decreases with body fat? Because I know on the previous slide you said that fat cells contain only 5 to 10% of water. So is it
okay?
Like
that's a good question. Those are two different things. When animals accumulate fat, okay, they have more fat in the body that will replace water. But if you talk about fat by itself and you analyze fat, it has some water. Does it make sense?
Yes.
It is not replacing the volume of fat will replace the volume of water from the body, okay?
Okay, that makes more sense.
Okay, but if you pick fat from the body and send to the lab, there is 5 to 10% water. You know why that percentage of water is so important?
Why?
When animals are hibernating, you know what is hibernation, right?
Yes.
That is the water they drink. That is the water they use. When the animals go hibernation and they don't eat any food, right? They break down that fat to provide energy, okay?
Okay.
During that process, they release water. That is the water they circulate in the body. They don't need to drink any water. So that's why that 5 to 10% came into play, but mass of fat will replace mass of water. Okay? Is that clear?
Yes, very much so.
Good
Thank
question.
you.
Good question. Okay, another nutrient, very important, is carbohydrate. We often abbreviate acronyms is CHO. If when you see CHO, that means carbohydrate. This is a primary nutrient component of livestock feeds beside water, okay? This is very important. Most of the feed is carbohydrate. And all the plants you see around are mostly carbohydrate. 70 to 80% of plants are carbohydrate. The difference between plants and animal body, we do not store carbohydrate. Do you know that? We do not store carbohydrate as much as plants do. 70 to 80% of plant dry matter, plant is carbohydrate, but we have less than 1% carbohydrate in the body. Our carbohydrate is blood glucose and muscle glycogen or liver glycogen. These are the only carbohydrate sources we have in our body. So when we need energy, suppose you starve, you're not eating for a couple of days. First of all, body uses all these carbohydrate sources. When that runs out, they go to break down fat contained in the body. When fat runs out, what do they use? What does body use as energy source?
Muscles.
Muscles. Wonderful. Muscle is protein. We'll talk about that. Amino acids. Amino acids can get converted to glucose. So that is the order of nutrient breakdown in the body, okay? So again, the important thing to remember, plants have all but carbohydrates, nothing but carbohydrate, almost, look at that, 80%. That is protein also, we'll talk about that. That is protein, there are minerals, there are other things. But most of the plants are carbohydrates. Protein. Now, and the third important pillar of nutrition is protein. Again, when you look at carbohydrate, fat, and protein, most of them have carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, but protein has nitrogen. This is what nitrogen I'm talking about. Protein also have sulfur. Protein also contain phosphorus. These are the interesting facts. Carbohydrate, the carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, this is what you find in carbohydrate. Carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, this is what you find in fat. Very similar in terms of this composition, but protein contains nitrogen, also sulfur and phosphorus. Amino acids, I'm sure you know what amino acids are. These are the things you talk about. These are the individual units. These are the currency of protein, individual smallest currency of protein or units of protein. There are two types of amino acids in the body. One is, both are produced in the body, by the way. Both amino acids are produced, both groups of amino acids are produced, but one group of amino acids are not produced enough in the body. They are called dietary essential or essential amino acids, okay? We'll talk about that. There is another group of amino acids which are also essential, doesn't mean they are non-essential, doesn't mean they're needed. They're needed. All the amino acids, 20 amino acids we talk about for nutrition, except for cat, we talk about taurine, which is another amino acid for cats. But in general, we talk about 20 amino acids, 10 are essential, which are produced in the body, but not enough. Another 10 essential, another 10 amino acids are called non-essential amino acids, but they are produced or synthesized in the animal body. Did I confuse you? How many amino acids we need or animals need? How many amino acids do animals need? 20, right? Out of 20, 10 are called dietary essential amino acids because they are not produced in enough amounts needed by animals. Is that clear? There are other 10 amino acids which are equally important, but they can be synthesized in the animal body. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Can you explain a little bit about being synthesized in the body?
They are made in the body from different things, okay?
Mm-hmm.
They can be synthesized in the body. You know,
Okay.
these are the things, right? Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur, and protein. These are the constituents of protein, right?
If I'm not mistaken, you said the P was for phosphorus?
P is phosphorus, right?
Mm-hmm.
All these things can be synthesized into amino acids in the body, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But both are synthesized, but this group, body cannot make enough. That's why we supply in the diets, okay?
Okay.
These are called essential amino acids. These are called non-essential, but that doesn't mean they're not needed. They're needed.
Right.
But they are not required to be supplied because they are made in the body. Is that clear?
Mm-hmm. Yes, very much so.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. These are the 10 essential amino acids, okay? I think Frank may have talked. There are different ways. I remember Matt Hill BP. It's one of the ways. When I was in class long time ago, when you are not even born, my professor told me, "Hey, remember like Matt Hill VP." I abbreviated those. That's I still remember. So try to, if somebody asks you, list all the 10 essential amino acids. There are many ways to memorize. Okay. So these are not made in enough amounts in the body needed by animals. There are another animals, alanine, aspartate or aspartic acid, cysteine, cysteine, glutamic acid, hydroxyproline, proline, tyrosine. These are amino acids made in the body, synthesized in the body. There are two, by the way, serine may be essential for poultry. Some researchers have said that they have reported, published their paper that serine can be helpful, it can be essential. Glycine may be essential for protein. So there are some conflicting reports. But go with this, all the 10 essential, 10 non-essential, okay? Fats or lipids, same compounds as carbohydrate. C, H, and O, I told you, they are same. But only difference is amount of carbon. Only difference is the amount of carbon. Carbon means more energy. So difference between carbohydrate and protein, and also the fat is fat has more energy, 2¼ times more energy than carbohydrate or even protein. If you burn a pound of fat, you will have 2¼ times more energy produced compared to a pound of energy or pound of protein. Is that clear? If you recall back, I will take you back, we do not store energy in carbohydrate form. How do we store, we humans store energy in the body? How do we store? Where is our energy source? Do you understand my question? What I'm saying is plants, all the plants you see like grasses or trees or all those crops, they have 70 to 80% of carbohydrate in them. But animals, including humans, we do not have carbohydrate stored in the body, less than 1 to 2%. How do we store energy in the body? How do animals store energy in the body? In what form?
Would it be glycogen?
Is it glucose?
I told you glucose and glycogen percentage is very low in the animal body, less than 2%, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most of the energy we store or animal stored is in the form of fat, okay? There is a reason why animals, when animals were in the wild stage, they were storing all their energy in the form of fat because it's 2¼ times more dense. Because they had to be running all the time, predators, they had to save themselves for predators. If you store energy in the form of carbohydrate, it is more bulky. So they were trying to concentrate that, so storing everything as fat. Is that clear? The fat is like dollar and carbohydrate like Mexican peso, okay? That's what I'm saying. Does it make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yes, sir.
In terms of energy, okay? So if you break down fat, there is a component called glycerol, which is a sugar, and 3 fatty acids. And fatty acids are also energy sources, and glycerol is also energy source. They're combined together, okay? And there are 2 types of fatty acids. One is called saturated fatty acids. They do not have many double bonds. Unsaturated fatty acids have double bonds. Some of them have 1 double bond, some of them have 2, some of them have 3. These are all for nutrition later in the course of your training. I think you'll be taking more classes with me and with other nutritionists. Right now, just understand that there are 2 types of fatty acids, saturated fatty acids or unsaturated fatty acids. Saturated fatty acids or fats do not have any double bonds. Unsaturated fat or fatty acids have double bonds, okay? Fatty acids are smaller units of fat, like amino acids are smaller units of protein. Likewise, fatty acids are smaller units of fat. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Please say something so that I know you're listening, okay?
Yes.
Okay, minerals. Now the next nutrient we talk here is minerals. Many inorganic minerals. There are a lot of minerals in the body, many types of minerals. They have beautiful functions, metabolic function. They're part of the bone, they're part of the hair, or a lot of things they do. We'll talk about that. Again, minerals are divided into 2 groups. Like fatty acids, we also divide minerals into 2 groups. One is called macro minerals or major minerals. These are the minerals required in larger amounts. For example, calcium, it is expressed in percentage. I'll tell you the difference between percentage and parts per million. So macro minerals or major minerals are required in larger amounts. Trace or micro minerals, these are required in minute amounts. So for example, 40 milligram per kilogram or 0.004%. If you look at calcium, it is 0.5% because it is required in larger amount, but another mineral is 0.004, which is iron in some diets, okay? It's very small amount. However, please note that macro, micro, major, and minor doesn't mean that they are not important. They're equally important. Equally important. All macro minerals, major minerals, micro minerals, or minor minerals, or trace minerals, they are the differences between these 2 groups of minerals are because of the amount needed by the body. It does not mean the micro minerals does not mean they're less important. They're equally important, okay? Both are equally important. Only difference is the amount required is different. One group, trace and micro minerals, are expressed in ppm, parts per million. 10,000 ppm is 1%. 10,000 parts per million is 1%. We do not express trace minerals in percentage because it will look like 0.0004 or 0.0007, so the numbers become very confusing. We can miss 1 0 and make a tenfold difference, so it is always expressed in ppm, 40 ppm or 40 milligram per kilogram. But macro or major minerals are expressed in percentage. Is that clear?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, now vitamins, very important. Minerals are inorganic, vitamins are organic compounds. vitamins are organic compounds. They are also required in very small amounts. Again, doesn't mean they are less important. The amount needed is small. If you look at the composition of vitamins, they're quite similar to protein in some cases, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. And vitamin B12, which is also called cobalamin, contains a mineral called cobalt. Very interesting fact, okay? Vitamins are divided into two major groups. Fat-soluble vitamins. Fat-soluble vitamins are vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, and vitamin K. K can also be called potassium. We'll talk about that later. But remember, there are 4 vitamins which are fat-soluble, and there are several vitamins which are water-soluble. I will talk about that down the road. All the B vitamins from B1 to B12 and vitamin C, these are water-soluble vitamins. At this point in time, at this stage of your learning, just remember, there are 2 groups of vitamins, fat-soluble vitamin, 4 of them, A, D, E, and K, water-soluble vitamins, all the B vitamins, and plus vitamin C. I don't know if Frank talked about this or not. Did you see this?
No.
No, he didn't talk about it.
Okay, this is how we analyze feed stuff or feed ingredients, okay? Before you do anything or you want to design a diet for animals, it could be any animals, ruminants, non-ruminants, or dogs, or cats, or mink, or whatever, or hamster, or any animal you can think about. You want to make a diet, you have to know what is there in the diet. First of all, you have to know dry matter. What that means is dry matter, anything but water. Anything but water is dry matter. In nutrition, we compare everything on dry matter basis, but we do not feed animals on dry matter basis. We feed as it is. Let me give an example. Suppose you go to a pet store, you buy a bag of feed. You may have some pets. I'm sure you don't have any cows or goats or sheep. Most of you guys are born and raised in the cities. And do you have any cows? Do you own any cows? No answer.
No.
No.
Do you have a cat?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Let me give an example. If you go to Walmart or pet store and buy a bag of food for your cat, read the label. Read the label. There is always feed so much of this per pound of body weight or so much for adult cats or this and that. There is a thing called list of nutrients. Most of the time it is crude fiber and there are some minerals. And those numbers can be on as-is basis or dry matter basis. The bag of food you buy from the pet store, is there any water in that food? Is there any water in that? Please. Dr. Dokes, did you understand his answer?
No, I did not.
My question, please. If you go and buy a bag of food from pet store or from Walmart or from anywhere, that food, it is a bag of food, but there is still some moisture. There is some water. in general, we about 8 to 10% water, okay? So nothing is 100% dry. You can only get the dry matter percentage when you heat that compound in 100 degrees Celsius for 24 hours, then only you can see the amount of dry matter. Is that percentage of dry matter is important because we want to balance all the nutritional needs of animals on dry matter basis, apples to apples basis. Because if you go and buy a bale of hay or round bale or square bale, doesn't matter. It looks dry, but there is about 10 to 14% moisture. But if you go and cut that grass very early stage, the water may be 70%. So the dry matter percent of the same grass in different stage of growth is different. It could be ryegrass. Ryegrass may have 70% water when it is growing, when it is young stage. When that grass is mature and dry and it's made into hay, it may have only 10% water. So ryegrass depends what stage of growth you're talking about. So you want to compare on dry matter basis. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay, this is, okay, crude protein is also abbreviated like CP. From now on, I will write CP. Crude protein, when you send any feed to the lab, they will calculate crude protein like this. They first estimate how much nitrogen is there in that feed, and they multiply it by 6.25. If the percentage nitrogen is 1, what is the percentage protein? Please answer. If I send a feed to a lab and the lab send me only the percent nitrogen, hey, your feed has 1% nitrogen, how much is protein in that nitrogen?
6.25. 6.25.
Okay, if it is 2% nitrogen, you multiply by 6.2, right? So that's how it goes. Urea is a fertilizer. It has about 46% nitrogen. What is the percent protein in urea?
Can you repeat the question?
Do you know urea fertilizer? Did you understand what I'm saying?
No, sir.
No, could you clarify?
Fertilizers, urea is a very popular fertilizer you apply for crops to grow them fast. Cornfield or soy field or even in the grass field, we apply a nitrogen fertilizer, okay? The most popular is urea, which is a fertilizer. And the urea has about 46% nitrogen. What is the crude protein percent of that urea?
Is it 287?
Perfect. Is that a good feed? You know how much protein is there in meat? In general? About 20% protein in meat, okay? If urea has 287% protein, why not I eat urea? Why should I eat meat? These are the questions you'll be asking down the road, okay? Then there are differences between proteins. Some proteins do contain amino acids, some proteins do not have any amino acids. The urea protein does not have any amino acids. That's why it is called non-protein nitrogen. And meat has amino acid. That's why it is called true protein source. So we'll talk about those differences. But right at this stage of the game, please remember crude proteins calculated by multiplying percentage nitrogen in the feed by 6.25. I will explain why 6.25 came, why 6.25 factor is used. All the proteins in general have 16% nitrogen. All the proteins have in general around 16% nitrogen. Some proteins have a little bit more, some have a little bit less. So you divide 100 by 16, what is the number you get? If you divide 100,
6.25.
correct. That is the reason why we use that factor 6.25. Is that clear now?
Yes.
Very
Yes.
good. Crude fat or fat. Fat is also called crude fat because there are a lot of things in the fat. In the extraction process, we also bring a lot of other things which are not truly fat. So the fat is called true crude fat, ether soluble fat, ether extract. That's how you express the percentage fat in the diet. Crude fiber, there is another component. Again, I'll bring that example. You go to you read the label of your cat food, there must be a number for crude fiber. This is how they do crude fiber, boiled in acid and alkali, and then the difference is crude fiber. And then another thing, ash. Burn the whole sample, whatever is left is ash, which is called minerals. Okay? Let me give you an example. If I have a dead animal, let's say 100-pound dead animal, I just want to burn the whole dead animal. How much would I end up with? Just give me a guess. I have a 100-pound animal, goat died for some reason. I just want to burn the whole thing, but I would be still left with ash, right? What would be the amount of ash left?
$40, I'm guessing.
It will be about 3 to 4%, okay?
Okay.
All the human bodies or animal body, depending on the stage of growth, have about 3 to 4% mineral in our body, okay? That is found when you burn the sample. It could be meat sample or fish sample. That is minerals, okay? That 3 to 4% is all we're talking about minerals, okay? All the macro minerals, micro minerals. And the last component in feed analysis is nitrogen-free extract. This is something you have not heard. This is the most digestible carbohydrate. NFE or nitrogen-free extract is often listed in the nutrient composition or when you do the ration balancing. This is the most digestible part of the feed or carbohydrate. It is also called digestible carbohydrate. The way you calculate this is you subtract everything from 100. Crude protein, crude fiber, ether extract, which is fat, and mineral ash. Whatever is left is the most digestible carbohydrate. These are the things you need to know when you analyze feed stuff, okay? Are there any questions? Okay,
I have a question.
yes.
Could you explain what EE represents? Like what name is that for?
EE is ether extract, that's fat, okay?
Okay.
Okay, ether extract or ether soluble extract or crude fat. There are a lot of pigment. I'm not going to confuse you right now. Just remember that's fat, okay? Okay, ether extract is fat, all right? Now, digestibility of feed is very important. You know, if you eat or you feed animals certain feeds, they might eat a lot of that feed, but if most of the feed or nutrients contained in the feeds are found in the manure, Would that be a good feed?
No.
No, right? You're wasting. So the animals are eating a lot, but most of these are voided or excreted. That means that feed is not good. So how do we know how much is this particular feed or feeds digestible? There are several ways we do that. One is chemical method. This method is done by labs. You send to the lab, they use the regression equation to predict the digestibility because they have a lot of database. Because this nutritional labs have hundreds of thousands of data. Based on data, they have a predictive equation, so predictive regression equation already developed. So they can easily or approximately tell you what is the digestibility of your feed. But if you have a very new feed stuff, they don't know that because they have no database to compare to. Okay? So it is useful, it is cheap, it is fast. The most ideal way to do how much of a feed is digestible, you actually do the trial with animals. But it's very expensive. You have to have a bunch of animals and you have to feed them. You have to know how much they eat, what is the nutrient composition of feed they eat. Then you have to collect feces. In some cases, you have to collect urine samples. Analyze those samples, feed, feces, and urine, and the difference is called digestibility. And you have to do that for first, you have to adapt those animals to eating that kind of feed. Then there is a certain number of days you have to collect the samples. It's a very time-consuming thing. We did that several times in the goat farm, but we don't have too much happening. One thing I realized that the students do not like this kind of work because you have to go early in the morning and collect all those samples, a lot of work. Not very popular with the students. But digestion trials with animals are not commonly used unless it's a new feed, okay? I am sure Dr. Frank Abramson has talked about this animal diet types. There are several types of dietary preference groups. Herbivores, they consume all the plant materials. Horses and cows, and carnivores, they eat meat. Examples are dogs and cats. But what is happening in the industry, by the way, I also teach a companion animal nutrition. This is a higher level course, and I give free textbooks, and I have a lot of nutritionists from pet food, like Royal Canin and Cargill, Balchem, those people guest lecture, and I have been teaching this course for the last several years. Dogs and cats are carnivores, but we have turned them into omnivores. A lot of cat food, a lot of dog foods have carbohydrate nuts. Our cats can survive exclusively on meat, but we have turned them into omnivores. We put a lot of carbohydrate. The reason is because it's cheaper. Omnivores are those that eat both plants and meat. Examples are primates, pigs, and chickens. I guess a lot of animals are omnivores now. Even cows. We feed a lot of things to cows. Okay? Blood meal. Do you know that blood meal is fed to cows? A lot of animal protein sources are fed to cows. Not from cows, but other species. So these animal protein sources are getting into animal feeds. So we have turned every animal that we raise into omnivores. because we try to balance rations, we try to make cheaper rations. And so, but truly speaking, this is the classification we go by.
I have a question.
Yes.
So say for instance, if cats are originally like intended to be carnivores, but we're feeding them a different type of feed, like, you know, carbohydrates or something like that, is that going to kind of like alter their like biological makeup?
Very
Or could
good
that
question.
like calm?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a good question. Okay. Well, I think that was the issue people talk about all the time, you know. There was an interesting story in Royal Canin. Some folks came to the company, asked them to design a diet for their cats. Hey, I love my cat is different. Can you make a special diet for my cat? And the answer by the nutritionist was, hey, I mean, cats are cats. If you want to have expensive diet, okay, but no, my cat is special. So what kind of diet do you want? I want vegan diet for my cats. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
This person who owned the cat was a vegetarian, okay? I don't want to feed anything but all the vegetarian diets to my cat. Design it. So the company was confused. How can you feed something? These are the carnivores. And the company boss told my friend, which is, I don't care how you do it, but do it, because there is a demand for this kind of diets, okay? So he had to play with different things. So what he did was he put some constituents of amino acid that are specifically needed by cats. Example is taurine. Taurine is an essential amino acid that is only available in meat. You cannot find in plants. So he added that, he designed a diet for cats. Honor is happy, she's buying, and people are buying. So we can convert them, slowly adapt them. So are there any genetic differences? Are there any nutrigenomics? That's why there is a science, there is study. People are trying to understand, if you feed something different, do you think over time they will adapt, or their genetic makeup will change? That's a good question. And the answer is, in some cases, yes. They have adapted, they have expressed some new genes. So it is happening. This is not a 1 or 2 year thing. This is a long period of time. Animals adapt. Okay. Very good question. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
It's coming on, Dr. Grong.
Yes, ma'am.
Approaching 10 o'clock, and we have one quick question. It says, why
Sure.
do female dogs eat their puppies, in the chat?
Why dogs eat?
Why do female dogs eat their puppies? We have this question in the chat.
Okay, I think that is a good question. I think it may be to do with the nutrient deficiencies. Animals are always looking for something they're lacking. Like that also is the case with some of the wild animals. They try to eat their own. When they're low in certain nutrients, that may be one of the reasons when they try to make up. Like salt. If you deprive animals salt, they try to lick things, whatever is around, try to make up the sodium and chlorine deficiencies. It could be related to that, or it could be related to the survival. You know, sometimes animals are very unique. They always see challenges around. Anything similar looking animals may be challenging them. There could be several reasons. As a nutritionist, I am going to incline to say that there could be some deficiencies the animal is facing, so maybe trying to make up that. Not a very good answer, but that's what I think, okay? Any questions? All good?
Yes, all good. It's almost 10 o'clock. Thank you
Thank
all
you, Dr.
for
Dose,
sticking
for the
staying around.
opportunity. I'll be there on the 7th of April, okay?
All right, it sounds good. I sure appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good one.
All right, you too. Thank you.